Hey guys, it's Kevin again, and this is going to be my review for another classic review, this time reviewing to the 1980 drama classic Raging Bull. Now, Raging Bull, I was really looking forward to this movie for two reasons. One, it's directed by Martin Scorsese, who in my opinion can't do anything bad. He's just, everything he does is amazing. Like, seriously, he's the man at directing. Probably my second favorite, probably one of my favorite directors by far. It also had Robert De Niro, and this movie was after Taxi Driver. So I want to kind of like compare Taxi Driver and Raging Bull because they're the two most well-known movies that Robert De Niro is best known for. And, I was really looking forward to this movie. My friend, Kane LaPlante, aka Kid of Awesome, also watched this movie before Taxi Driver, and he said it's better than Taxi Driver, so I was really looking forward to it. And the question is, was Raging Bull better than Taxi Driver? Hell yes. Yes, it was actually a lot better than Taxi Driver. I love Taxi Driver, but this movie was so much better, and this is probably my favorite Robert De Niro movie. I'm gonna say right now, by far, my favorite Robert De Niro movie. I absolutely love this movie. I thought it was fantastic. So basically, let's talk about what this movie's about. This movie is about, Jake LaMotta. He was a real person, by the way. Real person. He's actually still alive today, I believe. Jake LaMotta is still alive today. He was this really tough boxer in, like, the 1940s. And, basically, his brother sort of like helped him throughout all this, and the whole movie is sort of us seeing his story of like why he has a really good life and everything. Pretty much, he has a really good life, happy life and everything. He has a really good life. He's very conceited, very into himself for a lot of the movie because he's basically like the world's greatest boxing star. Like, he can't be taken down. But then he ends up losing his first boxing match, and shit just deteriorates in his life. Things get worse and worse and worse as the movie goes on, and basically it's us seeing his eventual downfall, basically, and that's basically what the Raging Bull is about. And that right there is a really interesting plot, and I'll get to what I really like about this movie. But let's first talk about the acting. Holy shit, the acting in this movie is just wow. Robert De Niro is completely, I didn't even recognize Robert De Niro in this movie because, one, he doesn't look like Robert De Niro in, like, Taxi Driver. He looks completely different than how he looked in Taxi Driver, which is awesome. Two, he has an accent, which makes him, a very different type of character. He's just completely, unrecognizable in this role. He got so lost into this role, and he did such a great job that I didn't even recognize him in this movie, which is awesome. I think he did such a great job in this movie. He had a lot to work with in this movie. Just a really awesome performance from him. He won the Oscar for this movie, and he definitely does deserve it. He won for Best Actor, and he definitely does deserve it because he's fucking epic. He is so amazing in this movie. By far my favorite Robert De Niro performance. I mean, I know I said Taxi Driver was my favorite. This is by far my favorite performance. He got so into this movie. He he did a really good accent, and you could feel his emotion as well. You could really feel his emotion in this movie. They did a very good job with doing that. So I thought he did a really great job. Then you have Cathy Moriarty as his wife, Vicky. She did a really good job because you really wanted them to make it, but you knew they weren't going to because he was so into himself, and he was so, like, self-centered all the time. Especially when his life got really bad, he started to blame other people. He started to be, like, so down on himself all the time. You could see that something bad was going to happen between them, and, I really liked her character. She did a really good performance, and I liked that she kind of wanted to stick with him throughout the whole ride, and I thought she did a really good job of doing that. Then the only other one to talk about really is Joe Pesci as his brother Joey. Great job. He did an amazing job in this movie. He was awesome in this movie. Really great performance from him. I really liked that he tried to stick by his brother at all times, really wanted to help him out. He did a really great job. Joe Pesci's an awesome actor, and I expect him to do awesome, and he did awesome in this movie. Let's talk about what I really love about this movie. Alright, first we'll get to spoilers, but let's first talk about the directing in this movie. The directing in this movie is one of the most interesting choices of directing I've seen. This is why Martin Scorsese is like the man when it comes to directing. He's awesome with this. Because the way Martin Scorsese decided to direct this movie is that the movie takes place mostly in the 1940s and 1950s. A little bit 1960s at the end. But if you guys know, of course, in the 1940s and 1960s and 50s, the audio was not as clear and present as it is today. So he literally decided to shoot this like a 1940s or 50s movie, which is awesome. And the movie's in black and white. You can barely hear what they're saying in the beginning, and that was a really cool choice of directing, because it's kind of like, I'm like, why can't we hear what they're saying? But then, when we got to 1950 and we could hear what they were saying more, I'm like, okay, now I understand why he did this, because I just thought it was a very cool choice of directing that he did. It was very, very interesting. I love the way he directed this movie. Just really, really well done. Martin Scorsese, this is why he's the man, because you can get so lost into his movies. Just like I got so lost in A Taxi Driver, you know, made me very depressed. This movie also made me feel like I was watching a 1940s or 50s movie. It really put me into that time period. I felt bad for this guy, even though he was, like, so into himself, and that's why he was such an interesting character. So yeah, I thought he did a really, really great job. He was really awesome in the movie, and just, wow, he was amazing. He put so much into this movie, so much influence in this movie. He did such a great job. The writing as well, awesome. Writing as usual, awesome. Great. Let's get to the spoilers in the movie. If you guys have not seen Raging Bull, do not listen to the rest of this review. Okay, so the other thing that I must say about this movie that I love was his transformation when he got fatter. Oh my god, when I first saw him, I'm like, is that really Robert De Niro? It doesn't even look like him. But then we got to the past, I'm like, okay, now I understand this, because, you know, he lost that one boxing match. He got beaten up so badly that he couldn't do it anymore, because he realized, I can't do this anymore. I'm not as into this anymore. And then he decided to become a comedian. And then, you know, he went into jail, and then he's a comedian. I think he's still a comedian today, because he's still alive today, as I said. But that was an awesome scene, you know, when he was getting beaten up in those fights. I must say that as well. The fight scenes in this movie are extremely loud, extremely violent, and extremely awesome. Like, the fight scenes are some of the best parts of this movie. You know, like, first he's beating the shit out of someone, but then when that one guy was beating the shit out of him, and, like, all that blood was coming on his face, like, there was blood everywhere on his face, I was like, okay, I understand why this movie's in black and white, because if this movie was not in black and white, this movie would be NC-17. It's a really graphic movie. It's really that graphic. So, yeah, that was a really big thing. Of course, we also know that his brother decided to basically give up on him. His brother did not want to help him anymore, because he was so, like, into himself that his brother kind of just gave up on him. So, yeah, you know, he kind of just abandoned him, and I think that was really sad. And I like how in the movie, he's kind of, like, thinking, what if my brother didn't abandon me? What if I wasn't so into myself? I could have been this, I could have been this, but I'm not that. And I love the thing at the end of the movie, where it shows, like, the Bible quote, where it says a man that was, like, so into himself, it doesn't matter if he was into himself, it matters that he was blind, and now he's seeing the light. He realized that he did not like what he was doing. He realized he was so into himself, and he's realizing it too late. So, I think that's what they're trying to show at the end of the movie, and they did a very good job of showing that at the end of the movie. So yeah, that was very well done as well. When his wife left him, I expected her to leave him, because, you know, and his first wife left him, so I expected her to leave him as well. But, it was kind of sad when she left him, but overall, I thought they did a really great job with that. That's the other thing. I felt genuinely sad for him in this movie. Like, I felt a lot of emotion in this movie. Very, very well done with doing that. They did a very good job of making me feel bad for him in this movie. Feeling sadness for him in this movie. Feeling sympathy for him. Very good job of them portraying that. They did an amazing job with that. I thought that was awesome, the way they portrayed that. I was really, really into that with this movie. And I absolutely loved that with this movie. I thought that was fantastic. The way they made me feel the emotion in this movie was really, really great. The other thing is, let's talk about the one scene with the color. There's one scene with color in this movie, and the reason they show color is because that's supposed to show when he is happy. That is not a lot of the movie. Most of the movie, he's really upset, and he's like a raging bull, basically. That's why the movie's called Raging Bull, because that's what he turns himself into. But, you know, that's the only scene where he's happy with his family. I thought it was a very interesting way of doing that. You know, I'm like, what is this montage about? But then I realized, that's the only time he's happy, is when he's with his family, and he's happy then, but he's not happy after he loses that first boxing match, and his life basically just deteriorates from there. So I thought that was definitely really, really big, and just definitely really, really great with this movie. I really enjoyed that a lot. Also, this movie goes by really quickly. I would say it's not as slow paced as Taxi Driver. It's not as slow written like Taxi Driver, but Taxi Driver is written that way because it's supposed to be, because it's a very depressing movie and it wants you to feel the depression in the movie. So yeah, that's why Taxi Driver is written that way. But this movie's better than that, and I do think why else is this movie better than Taxi Driver? Because it has better performances. The acting in Taxi Driver was not as memorable as the acting in this. Like, this movie's a lot more memorable than Taxi Driver. Taxi Driver is memorable, but this movie's a lot more memorable because you remember like the fight scenes in the movie. You remember some of the conversations in the movie. You remember like some of the big things that happened in this movie. You remember how much of a dick Jake LaMotta was, and I don't know if he was that much of a dick in real life, but yeah, I'm surprised to figure out that he is a real person. I wasn't sure if he was a real person or if they were basing him off of someone. I really didn't know if that was, what to think of him there or not, but he was really, as I said, he was really great in the movie, and, I didn't know he was real. Apparently, all three of them were real. Jake LaMotta, Vicky, and Joey LaMotta were real. So I thought that was definitely very interesting that we find out that both of them were real. But overall, I loved Raging Bull. I thought it was an awesome movie. You guys should definitely check out this movie. It's a really awesome movie. Hard to watch at points, yes, because it is in black and white. But if you guys can handle it, it's a really terrific film. It's, as I said, Robert De Niro's best performance. He's really, really awesome in this movie. I definitely would give this movie, you know how Netflix lets you rate their movies. I definitely give it a 5 out of 5. I love this movie. I think it's probably one of my favorite movies. By far the best movie I've seen so far out of all these movies I reviewed for Classic Movie Reviews. This is by far the best one I've seen. But, yeah. So that's basically it for my review of Raging Bull. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you guys saw this movie. And I will see you guys in my next video, which will be for another Classic Movie Review. So I'll see you then. Okay, bye.